Welcome to Business and Beyond, the podcast where business leaders and big ideas meet real-world challenges. I'm Julie Wheeler, President and CEO of the BBB Serving Western Virginia. Each episode, we will bring you candid conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories to help you lead with purpose, build trust, and grow your business with confidence. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Julie Wheeler, President and CEO of BBB Serving Western Virginia. In this episode, we discuss the rise in attempts of fraud in the banking world and how leaders across the industry are taking steps to protect consumers and businesses alike. I'm joined by Brandon Farmer, Chief Operating Officer of the Bank of the James. Brandon, thank you for being here with us today.
Good morning. Thank you.
So, for listeners who may not know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, your journey, how you ended up with Bank of the James as Chief Operating Officer?
Well, I grew up in Danville and went to Virginia Tech and wanted to start a career in financial services. And Bank of the James was an opportunity where I interned for a couple of summers.
Oh, nice.
Before the bank opened back in 1998.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a unique journey and got to see something really grow from really $1 into what it is today. And
so when you started straight out of college, I guess,
straight out of college, yes.
Okay.
It's my only job I've ever had.
Wow. What did you do in your first position there?
Well, my first position was helping with the accounting function.
Okay.
Doing a little bookkeeping.
Gotcha. Okay.
Some basic accounting at that point.
Absolutely.
But my main goal was keeping an eye on the restrooms. My office was literally in a hallway outside the restrooms.
Okay. So we'll put that on the resume, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. Okay. So are you financial? Did you have an accounting degree or a finance degree?
I had a finance degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you just worked your way through, probably did everything?
Gosh, we did everything. We had a great onboarding experience where I went and served in the branch, opening accounts, did teller transactions.
Sure.
I wasn't the best balancer in the world, so they keep me away from the money now.
I heard that. You can balance the big money, just don't have you counting it, right?
Well, as long as I've got Excel, I'm okay.
Exactly. Well, today's topic is all about fraud, and we just seem to see more and more of an increase in fraud and scams. And from your perspective, what do you think some of the most common scams are that your bank is seeing with either just in your community or with your account holders?
Well, we're seeing a lot where people are engaged through either social media, through texting, through email, a lot of digital experience there. But someone will send them a check, ask them to go buy gift cards or go buy certain products and services, or just to spend the money and send the extra money back. Well, there is no money.
Right.
The check always comes back.
Sure.
So really, gosh, I would say our most prevalent right now is check fraud.
Okay.
Where people are becoming part of scams and schemes.
Right.
And they're interacting and they're cashing these checks, or they're trying to deposit the checks, and then they're sending money back in the form of gift cards or cash.
Yeah, that was really, really big. I kind of thought we'd moved a little bit away from that, but maybe they realized it was tried and true and keep it going.
Yeah, it is. And checks seem to be our weakest point at this point.
Okay. Are you seeing much where they're washing checks, like getting business checks and washing them? Okay.
Some. A lot are just being stolen, and actually it's cheaper for the criminal to get a fake ID to match the check than to try to go wash the check.
Really?
So they just literally steal the check out of a mailbox or the mail system and just bring it in with a fake ID. So we're now asking for checks over a certain dollar amount. We're asking for 2 forms of ID, and hopefully they won't have a credit card in addition to their fake ID.
Wow. Boy, they're going to figure out a way, aren't they?
It's just like water. They find the weakest point.
Well, that is true. That is very true. Text messages seem to be something we hear a lot about, some emails, phone calls. they are really, really, really convincing. They're good at what they do. What are some warning signs that you see that consumers should look for? We talk about this all the time,
Sure.
but I love hearing it from somebody other than us. We don't talk to ourselves.
Well, first and foremost, if you're not expecting it, then it's probably not relevant.
Legitimate. Yep.
Every once in a while, you do get a text, you do get an email in regards to maybe a package that you're going to receive, or something that you ordered online, or something that you're getting ready to go pick up. But those are the ones, and the other is to watch out for spellings from the spelling from a sender that may be one letter off, or that may have a dash. I helped a coworker, actually. Her mother received a text saying that her account was going to be blocked and she needed to, call this number.
Right.
And there was a dash in there. I'm like, no, there shouldn't be a dash.
Sure.
It should just be a run-on. So always check spellings of senders.
Do you also tell people that typically they're not going to ask you to take action?
Absolutely.
Through a text message, they're not. They may tell you to call a phone number or something, which you need to verify the phone number. But I think the ones that you have to do this right now, you need to reply with something.
A lot of urgency to it. A bank is never a financial institution, whether it's a financial advisor or a bank, is never going to pressure you into taking action via electronic means.
Yes.
We would prefer you not to do that via electronic means.
Exactly. Well, how do you technology? Obviously, it's made it a whole lot easier. But what are some of the biggest things you see as far as how it's changed how they commit fraud? Compared to 5 years ago and 10 years ago, gosh, that's a whole brand new world, brave new world.
Well, I think the first thing is if you get something electronic, don't trust it. Please pick up the phone and call your bank, call your advisor. Call somebody that this may or may not have come from.
That you know,
and the number that you know.
Yeah.
Because we would answer 1 million of those phone calls rather than have the amount of fraud that we're seeing today.
Right. Yeah, I think it's, the texting obviously is probably what I would see as the biggest change, the use of texting. Texting obviously has been around a little longer, but they seem to have gone to that because they know people respond to text messages.
Sure, that and then phone calls. We get a lot of spam phone calls.
Well, yeah, because that's back to because now that's going backwards though. But people do tend to answer, unfortunately, even though
you're expecting a call from Richmond, and it's an 804 number.
Right.
You're not exactly sure who it's going to be.
Right.
I did it last week.
Or it comes from your area code because they spoof all those numbers, and you're like, oh, well, it's got to be somebody around here, so it must be safe, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. As always, be very, very wary.
Yes.
So digital banking, how do you balance customer convenience with the need for strong protections? Because obviously we all want that ease of being able to do mobile deposits, being able to go and look and get instant answers on things.
Well, I think the thing is put safeguards in, but make sure they're efficient. Whether it's something that your phone can interact with, as far as a digital code being text to you. If you want it emailed, it can be emailed. There's got to be layers of security put into place, but make sure those layers aren't too
cumbersome.
Aren't too cumbersome, aren't too much of a roadblock for people to actually use the product.
Right.
So the way that the technology fits together is really where our sweet spot is.
Right.
And that's what we try the best. But you've got to put those extra layers of security in there as far as authentication, multi-factor authentication.
Absolutely.
Out-of-band confirmations.
So you found that magic spot.
We hope so.
Yeah.
We hope so. We have a texting function that goes to the cell phone on record, so that there's an extra layer of security in there that'll interact with a previous device.
Sure. Oh yeah, and that's actually really good. And they ask you, I guess, when you set up accounts, not you, but pretty much everywhere now asks for multiple points of contact so that they can track you back.
Yeah.
Which is great. Well, we see businesses more and more being targeted. I mean, obviously, deeper pockets sometimes with different cyber crimes. What have you seen as some of the most common scams that businesses are having happen to them?
I would say first and foremost, please, if you send out checks, please take them to the post office. Don't mail them out of a mailbox. We see a lot of stolen checks. And again, going back to what we were previously talking about, they're not even trying to change the checks anymore. They're just making up different forms of ID so that they can just
heard that. That is
cash them out.
Crazy, truly crazy.
It's quicker and cheaper off of a little printer that they can probably put in their car.
Right. How about online banking? Where you have the banks write the checks for you.
We went through a little calling situation a few months ago where some people were trying to, some criminals were trying to attack and really finagle their way into some of our businesses. So that was a situation where we did have one business that until we intervened, and they believed it 100%.
Mm-hmm. Now, what were they doing? So they were actually calling the business?
They were actually calling the businesses directly and saying that they needed to change their passwords and update their security settings. And this one business wanted to send out, this electronic transaction, and we stopped it. Luckily enough, we were like, "Wow, this is odd. This is a new, this is weird." And the lady that took the instructions swore up and down that, I've got to do this. I have to do this. I have to take care of this. And it was a scam.
How did they represent themselves? Did they represent themselves as being part of the financial institution? Or?
They did.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's why we ask that if you're not expecting a call, just go ahead, hang up, call
somebody directly.
Call somebody directly. Call your local branch. Call your local financial institution. Because I always make this analogy that, when we were growing up, we all had cartoons of criminals, and they seemed kind of bungling. And,
Mm-hmm.
Messing around and barely making it. These folks, this is their job. Yeah. They're very sophisticated.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, it's always the thing I used to tell folks when the online crime that started was it used to be somebody held a gun to your head and said, "Give me your wallet."
Yeah.
Now they're figuring out ways, to just smoothly
and you never even see it coming,
and you do not see it coming.
Yeah.
So, well, how do you think cyber criminals have changed their strategies as to get money out of businesses?
Well, I think they are really finding the businesses that are not tech savvy. Mm-hmm. They may not have a technician on staff,
right?
A settlement agency or a law office or other financial services where money is passing through. That's where we're starting to see, folks that are either calling in or trying to email false settlement accounts and settlement instructions.
Crazy.
Gosh, we're seeing it all.
So they're targeted by industry. They're targeting ones that maybe don't have the manpower to have a lot of controls in place.
Well, that and don't have big staffs, so the size of the company. Mm-hmm. Again, these folks they're scouting us all.
Good. Yes,
and they're out there, and they know, even the size of your staff, the size of your team, and how complex your situation is. And again, if you're settling money and you're moving money day in and day out, you could certainly be an opportunity.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I see the ones that are where they actually have done so much specific homework, which is what you're talking about. So it feels like it's a customer, or it feels like maybe it's an employee in another office or whatever trying to get things done. So the homework that they do means they need a payoff, so they're going to push pretty hard to figure out.
Yeah, and that's where the urgency comes in. That's where you shouldn't feel pressure to do anything, change anything, send any money, collect any money.
Right.
Banks and legitimate situations are just not going to ask for that.
Yeah. Well, and it goes to employee training and education. So, what do you see the importance of that, and how do you help companies, help your customers protect themselves from the scams, the threats, all the social engineering that's going on?
Well, I mean, we need to act as one team. We need to all be educated because you never know who's going to get that phone call, who's going to get that request, who's going to walk up to you in the grocery store and say, hey, by the way, I've got this situation. How can you help me? So customer education and employee education go hand in hand, where we're trying to get out there and we're trying to educate the customers just by doing this today and just kind of spreading the word so that people can become more aware.
Right.
But employee education, it's day in and day out. Mm-hmm. It's experience. It's on the job experience. As you
hard knocks. Yep.
But the other thing is online education. We utilize a lot of online tools as well.
Do you help your customers know what to tell their employees, like putting second verbal verifications in place for wire transfers or other type size transactions?
Exactly.
I mean, there's
dual signatures on checks, or a specific way to endorse a check, or specifically, that secondary review as far as an ACH or a wire origination. And even remote deposits gets looked at pretty heavily as well.
Yeah, that's and that's a battle that every business needs to be dealing with, and pretty much and changing, because as soon as you figure out one thing, you moved on to a different way to do it.
That's true. So, very true.
What do you think the biggest mistakes are that businesses unintentionally make?
Gosh,
leaves them vulnerable, makes them more at risk.
I think actually paying people with checks is probably one of the biggest weaknesses, because they get stolen, they get reproduced, they can be washed again, changed, altered, and electronic transactions can be a lot more efficient in where they go and how they originated, and the security measures that we can put into place to secure them, versus a check that gets mailed out in a window envelope. We've been through that, and luckily that customer is changing their envelopes, but you just knew there was a check in that envelope.
Right. Well, do you see that sometimes a business thinks, "Oh, I'm so small, they're not going to bother me"? Do you ever see that kind of that mindset of, I don't need to take any of these precautions because and to me that's a huge misnomer, because they target the smallest of the small. Big companies have control, so they don't discriminate. Yeah. And big companies usually have a lot of controls and things.
Well, and a lot of larger companies, are wiring or sending electronic transfers.
Right.
Not many checks, and if they do have a check, it's probably handed off to somebody that deserves a check. Criminals don't discriminate.
Right.
They go after wherever the money is, however they can easily get the money, and we've seen large companies and we've seen small companies fall victim.
Yeah, we've seen some pretty serious situations affect both businesses, and consumers.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, so how do you go about making sure that you've got a process in place for quick communication if you see something? I mean, I know it's their money, so if somebody shows up with something, you're kind of like, I can't really tell them I'm not going to give them that money. But how do you all, try to help your customers from being victims?
Well, again, we kind of go back into layered security, and that kind of goes into with personnel as well. Mm-hmm. So you make the request in a branch. The person may have a conversation with you. That request may be screened 1 to 2 more times by different people.
Okay.
And it could be brought up as, well, Brandon, are you sure you really want to send money to South Africa? Really? You haven't really done this before. Seems a little odd out of your pattern. What's the story behind this?
Right.
And so really you ask the customer to share the situation and share as much information as they're willing to give you, and typically you find the truth. And sometimes legitimate situations, people are selling on houses a lot. We see that quite a bit. Buying cars and selling cars and things of that nature. But International wires, especially, we're pretty keen on those.
Sure. Well, we actually had a consumer who they told her to tell the bank that she was needed the money because she was buying a piece of property.
Sure.
And they actually said, well, we need to see the bill of sale.
Yeah.
So they protected her. And I appreciate those extra steps, but I also know it's a very fine line.
And it's also the willingness of the customer to share what information they do have or don't have.
Yes.
And so you can only take it so far. And sometimes even though you don't feel good about it, you end up, you're right. It is their money and they're determined and they have all the information that they're supposed to have. So sometimes you do go through with it.
Well, this stuff's changing every single day. How do you keep up? What do y'all do to make sure you're on top of?
Well, we utilize a lot of banking resources, a lot of compliance resources. Online training is a big one for us. Our onboarding for a branch person is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, and so we're trying to indoctrinate not only the banking policies and regulations, but some of our own as well and how we do business. So it's continual.
Yeah.
Every year, I've got probably 20 or 25 classes that I need to take to every year keep up that education and continue to work.
Now, are you part of like a group of banks that pull together for the training and things? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's talking to others is a really good thing because I've seen this, but I haven't seen that here yet, particularly here because we tend to be a little on the later end on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So if you can find out ahead of time, maybe you can put your safeguards in place to protect everybody.
Yeah.
So trust is super important in the banking industry.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you maintain that? As cybersecurity concerns, become bigger and bigger, how do you make sure we're
you
trustworthy?
Yeah, mainly for me, it's being a trustworthy resource, being a knowledgeable resource,
right?
Knowing what you're talking about, helping people through situations. And then the word of mouth will just, hey, Bank of the James really helped me out through this situation. They really knew what they were talking about.
Right.
It's really knowing and performing at what we know to do and how we know to do it. And really just building that trust over time and per transaction and per interaction.
Sure. Knowing your lane.
Yeah.
And who you are, what you do. So, well, what is the strangest fraud you've seen?
Strangest fraud.
Strangest or the most involved, the one that took the most time to unravel?
Well, we had a company, and this was probably almost 20 years ago, and unfortunately, this doctor had his email compromised.
Oh wow!
And they went through and read all the emails that he had written.
Oh goodness!
So they knew how to craft his email.
Sure.
They knew how to sign off and then what he would say to sign in.
Right.
Sincerely or good morning. Good morning, Brandon, or sincerely, Jeff or whatever it was. And so they probably spent some time looking at his emails, and we had an email wire come in, a request. And it was written.
It was just like he would have written it.
Just perfectly, perfectly done. And we lucked out because we actually called the person individually.
Sure, for verification.
Just for verification because it was an anomaly. But
wow.
I mean, it just perfect.
And that was AI times to where they could just make something.
Yeah.
Go read all the emails.
It was a long time ago.
Email. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, BBB is all about building consumer trust and trust between businesses. Obviously you're BBB accredited. Why is that important to you and your organization?
Well, again, going back to trust and knowing that you can be trusted to, you're not going to be perfect, but when you are not perfect, that you address it and try to resolve the situation.
Sure.
My life is kind of all about exceptions. So we want to take care of those exceptions when they pop up, and we know that we're not perfect, but
Right.
When we're not, we're going to step up and do the right thing.
Yeah, and that we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's your last message you want to leave with consumers and businesses? Takeaway when it comes to, how do they protect themselves from fraud and scams?
Well, we're actually giving out pamphlets and some magnets in our branches already, and it's really just stop and think about it.
Yep.
Is it something that you engaged in? Is it something like a
Came your
lottery
way.
that you entered? Yeah. If you didn't enter the lottery.
Exactly.
You didn't. But just stop and think. Does this sound legitimate? Does this sound logical?
Talk to somebody.
And if not,
yeah,
perfectly. Pick up the phone and call us. We're happy to talk to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that independent verification, calling somebody where you look up the number, asking a family member, a neighbor, anything that you can do that gets you out of that thing. If they don't want you to hang up the phone, they'll keep you on the phone for hours at a time. It's
true.
Crazy. They don't want you to have time to
Go talk
check
to somebody
with anybody.
else.
Yeah. So crazy stuff that they do.
Yeah.
So great stuff. Great information. Well, that's all for this episode of Business and Beyond. Thank you for listening. And Brandon, again, thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to keep this conversation going, so make sure to connect with us on social media and share your ideas for future topics or guests. And don't forget to visit us online at bbb.org. Until next time, keep building with integrity, leading with trust, and taking your business beyond expectations the BBB way.